Okay, this is BelGeode, and this is another test. So today's test, we are looking at the Spitfire. It's been updated. Still just as beautiful as ever, but they have made some updates so that it is now in line with Sim Update 5. And I can tell you from now, I'm pretty impressed. So the first thing I did, naturally, changed around my camera views, in particular the external cameras, because anyone who follows my channel knows that when I do videos and I go to the outside view, oftentimes it's in one of these static cameras. Really didn't like most of the cameras that they had. I thought some of them were, weird points of view or a little stretched out. So I had made a modification when they first came out with it, and I basically just grafted that into the cameras.cfg. So we've got the standard um, tail view. So we can do our controls wipeout. That's primarily why I have that. Plus, of course, when you're flying, it's good to see the scenery around any aircraft. And we should probably do a test of the rudder too. So let me put my feet under the desk. There we go. Rudder looks good. All right. Let me check the flaps. Flaps come down. Flaps go up. Very nice. Very nice. I like it. All right. Second view. The ever popular BelGeode landing cam, and oh wow, I never realized there was a light under here. That's pretty cool. I have never seen that before. As long as I've been flying this thing, I've never seen that before. That's wild. And there's also these little, what are those, exhausts or something? I guess. But there's one there and there's one there. Those also have exhaust effects that come out and smoke if your engine's not feeling so well. And we've got this view. I like this view because it's kind of like an over the shoulder thing. If the cannons worked or the guns worked, then it would probably be a good camera shot to show off the guns in action. But that's not a thing. So right now it's just for showing off when doing aerobatics. And then there's this view, which is kind of like a top-down look inside the cockpit, see what's going on type of deal. I kind of like this one if I'm flying over someplace, like a POI or something along those lines. It'll give me a good excuse to do one of these numbers to kind of check out what's going on in the world below. Oh, look, somebody took off. I'm here at Inverness in Scotland. Didn't think there was anyone here. It must be AI. All right. Then, of course, this is adapted from the original cameras.cfg. This is the wing view. I love wing views, so this is fine. And then on the other side, instead of doing an above the wing view, I wanted to do a below the wing view. So this is what we have here, and I thought this one looks pretty good too. And then we have the nose camera, especially useful when doing loop-the-loops. And then there's this camera, because now that they've got smoke effects and so on and so forth, you should be able to see that stuff coming out of the exhaust pipes there. Another landing gear camera. I'm kind of weird about these. I do love the landing gear cameras, but it kind of shows off some of the limitations that the developer has on the modeling and so on. So it's not a very flattering camera, so I'll try not to use that one too often. But I do like the fact that they went the extra mile and put all this grit and whatever in there. They just really didn't do anything about the top end of that oleo there. And this is from the original CFG file. So you can see me moving the elevators there. That might come in handy during a check. But also, take a look at what the pilot is doing. You'll notice that his arm is actually moving. And this pilot, when you roll to the left or roll to the right, his head will actually turn around and roll in the direction that you're looking. So I'll try to show that off once we take off. We're going to North Connell. So we're basically following Loch Ness. We'll see if we can find Nessie. Pretty sure she's there. And we'll continue heading south until we reach to North Connell. All right, so let's hop in. Okay, so now that we are in, we will need to get her started, and there's a number of things that have changed. First off, if you look down there, you'll see a new radio thing. It is digital. Obviously, it's not period specific, but it works. I can contact the ATC, which is kind of what I want to do. So this radio up here now has a dual purpose. You press A, or I think B or C, and it'll still, do like radio stuff. But if you press D, it does something different now. It will toggle on or off the engine damage model. With it off, of course, you can't really damage the engine. With it on, you can. So you got to be cautious of that. All right, let's go ahead and get our battery on. Okay, landing gear light is on. That indicates the battery is on. Okay, let's see. I'm going to turn our nav lights on. I don't think there's a strobe for this, but let me just flip the switch and see if I hear anything. I do not. Okay, so I think it's safe to assume there's no strobe or beacon, because I'm flicking the beacon switch as well. And I don't think there's a landing light either. Not 100% certain if the Spitfire normally has landing lights. I'm going to go with no on that, though. All right, let's close our door. And remember, this one, you got to make sure it is locked. So, lock door. If you do not lock this door, you cannot close the canopy. So, very important. Do not forget that. All right, propeller pitch. Put you to full. Takes a little while for me to scroll the wheel. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay, we will need fuel, so let's get our fuel pump on. I need to dedicate a switch on my Virpil for the fuel pump, or not the fuel pump, but the fuel valves. I don't have that done just yet. All right, mixture, we're going to put you to full. All right, as always, with this bird, you got this wobble pump thing here. So we got to push it several times until this red light here goes out. So we'll just wobble away. I forget how many it takes. 4, 5, oh, come on, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it takes 10 wobbles of the wobble pump to turn the light off. Now we know. All right, next order of business, we're going to need to prime. This primer is kind of weird. You've got to unlock it first. So you scroll wheel to the left until it says unlocked, and then pump it. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go 6, 5, 6. All right, hopefully that is not over priming it. Okay, so we lock it back up. We're pretty much set to go. The only other things we need to do, we need to turn on our magnetos, so 1 and 2. And we will need to hit both the starter and boost coil at the same time. The way that FlyingIron has done it is if you hit one, you see the other one is separate, but if you hit in the middle, it'll engage both at the same time. So that's what we're going to do. We'll make sure our parking brake is on. Parking brake is off. Parking brake is on. Okay. So we can go clear prop. Throttle to idle. Should have actually done that before the start, but we're okay. We're okay. All right, so we got that on. I don't know if these floodlights work. Yeah, they do. Okay. Well, how bright can I make you? You know what? That's fine. That'll work. All right, next order of business. Radiator flaps to open. Turn on a pitot heat. Fuel switch pump. think that's on. And what am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing something. What is it? Oh, radio. Alright, radio is on. Alright, trim. We are going to want to trim a little to the right. So, let me toggle over there. Alright, that should be enough. It doesn't need much. It really doesn't need much. And the elevator trim, or pitch trim, should be nose down slightly. Now, we do actually have a little gauge for that right here, so I can nose that down to right about there. Alright, oxygen, just in case we need it. Turn that on. There we go. I think we're set. I think we are set. Alright, so one crucial thing that we are going to need to do is contact the tower. Just close these little thingies here. So, tower, Inverness ground, departing straight out.
Inverness ground, Musket 70, request taxi for takeoff straight out departure.
Musket 70, taxi to and hold short at runway 23 via taxiway out at Echo Cross runway 11. Contact tower on 118.405 when ready.
Sounds good.
Taxi to and hold short runway 23 via taxiway Alpha Echo Cross runway 11 Musket 70.
Alright, Musket 70 is what we are called because this is the Musket livery, or Muscat livery. So that's why I named it that. Alright, so parking brakes are off. You can see we're already rolling, so we're gonna go to the right here. Because runway 23 is on the opposite side. So we gotta go all the way down there. Bye, dude. Alright, we can go to the outside view for the S-turns taxi here, or we can stay in here and do this kind of shenanigans. It's all up to you. I don't want anybody to get dizzy while watching me do this crap. So, you know what? Let's go to the outside view. Now, since this is a Spitfire, please remember, do not ride the brakes. If you ride the brakes, you will regret it. This thing will flip over on its nose. If you gotta activate the brakes, if you're using either rudder pedals with toe brakes, or in my case, I have a brake lever on the actual stick itself, don't hold it down any longer than about a second at a time, and then give a little bit of time in between. I think that's another Spitfire there. Holy crap, look at that. That's kind of cool. That's one thing I've noticed with the AI, and that actually brings up a good point. I believe some of the crash to desktop issues are caused by AI limitation, and I'll explain. So you'll notice how we have a Spitfire there, just like a random Spitfire sitting there. In the settings, there's a thing where you can set AI to only use generic aircraft. That is obviously not a generic aircraft. But what I'm finding is when people have it set to that, it's somehow, some way triggering a crash to desktop by them just using generic aircraft. If you uncheck it, so that way it allows you to use any aircraft that you happen to have in your hangar, so to speak, it doesn't cause a crash to desktop. I haven't had any crashes to desktop, knock on wood, since I've had mine set that way. And I actually had mine set that way for a long time now. So there is that. I don't have any 100% concrete proof as to whether or not that is actually the case, as to why people are getting crashed to desktops, but so far I haven't had an issue. So There may be something to it. Maybe. Alright, so we still got a little ways to go. This is the crosswind runway. We're going to that runway there, so we're going to turn around at the end there. So I'm actually allowing this aircraft to taxi a little bit faster. And then when we hit the intersection, I'll slow down again. Let's go to the bottom camera. There we go. Now we can really see where we're going. I just noticed these wheels wobble. Nope, only that wheel. Huh. Might need to call maintenance on that. Alright, so once again, just love taps on the brakes. This is the intersection coming up here. Now I could actually just call for takeoff clearance from now, so let's see. No, actually I can't. I need to be stopped for that. So we'll go all the way to the end of the runway and then we'll turn around and do that. I'm sure it'll be fine. Now on takeoff, of course, this is still a squirrely bird. As to be expected, it's a Spitfire. That's how Spitfires roll. So yeah, we're gonna need to do the rudder tango to make sure that we don't like flip over on takeoff or anything like that, but we should be okay as long as you remember to gently ease in the throttle and put your boost no higher than 6. You see a little boost gauge there, 4, 8, 12. You're gonna go to 6 whenever you're boosting this thing. So basically, to boost, you just raise your throttle the same way you normally would. And when you see that needle hit 6, hold the throttle there. Don't raise it any higher. Should correspond to about 85% throttle. Alright, how close are we to the edge? Oh, not that far. I'm going to stay on this side. Alright, so here we are, runway 23 in Inverness. See what I mean? Gentle love taps. If you go too hard on the brakes, you'll start tipping forward. But then anybody who's familiar with the Spitfire knows this is standard for the Spitfire. This is how it does it. Alright, so we're going to turn around here. Didn't actually check to see if there was any traffic coming, but looks like we only had that one BizJet here, and he's gone now, so. I don't believe there is a tail wheel lock on this aircraft, so that is not going to be an issue. Alright. Request takeoff clearance from Inverness Tower.
Inverness Tower, Musket 70 ready at runway 23 straight out departure.
Musket 70 altimeter, 29.5, 6 wind 255 at 10. Departing straight out, approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 23.
Cleared for takeoff runway 23 Musket 70.
Okay, we're good to go. Let's go ahead and get the canopy closed. You notice it lowers the volume just a little here. Alright, so let's start getting our power up. So brakes down, throttles up. Okay, everything looks good. Brakes off. Start pulling that power up. Watch that wind. We're at 0. Careful with the rudder. Careful with the rudder. And and up to 6. There we go. And we're up. Gear up. Whew! Okay, well, that was definitely a very, very sketchy takeoff. Probably my worst takeoff in this bird. Usually I'm a lot smoother than that. But let's get our trim back up. So that way we're climbing and not descending. And let's see what she wants to do. She still wants to go down and to the right. I'm going to bias us a little bit to the left here. There we go. Alright, so good deal. So now that we're up, the first thing I typically do is I will lower our RPM. I don't remember what the exact figure is, but I put it somewhere between 2700 and 2500. So figure about 2600. That'll ease up on the engine a little bit. And also allow us to do some shenanigans. Oh, by the way, do not stay inverted with this thing for too long. You will starve the engine. It will die on you. Not a pretty sight. Let me just tell you that right now. Alright, so let's go back this way. We'll buzz the airport. And we will turn around and head towards Loch Ness. Typical Scottish weather today. Very cloudy. Small patches of sunlight coming through, which actually looks kind of magical to me anyway. Pretty cool. This is set to real world weather. It is not set to real world time, however. I actually deliberately set it to morning time, even though it's currently the middle of the night at the time of my doing this recording test. Alright, so I want to go to that peninsula there and come down and do some shenanigans. So I'm keeping the throttle exactly where it is. Boost is at 6. We're not moving it. The only thing we've done is we've lowered our RPM. As a matter of fact, I'm going to lower it a little more. There we go. Right there is good. And we'll go to the outside view and do some shenanigans real quick. And we'll put it to that aerobatic side camera. This camera. Alright, so that was enough shenanigans for a little while. We're going to pull our boost back down to about 2. So right about there should be good. We're getting some really good speed here. As you can see, we're at about 270 miles per hour. And we're just at the beginning of Loch Ness. So we're going to hit the deck here. Now, even though this countryside is really beautiful, I have noticed one major weird thing about this area. The water level in Loch Ness, it's not even. So you'll see areas where it appears that the water's going uphill or downhill or whatnot. It's not totally flat. So that is something that I think Asobo and Microsoft are going to need to look at, because it looks kind of weird when you're watching water going up the hill. So this area is definitely affected by it. The right side here, the shore, is really not too bad. It only looks like it's going slightly up a slope, but it's going to be more noticeable on the left-hand side. You can see it looks like it's a ski ramp of water, basically, which is obviously not correct. Alright, let me see how we're doing with trim here. The way I do that is just let everything go. Alright, I'm bumping down our pitch trim just a touch here. There we go. This aircraft is actually surprisingly easy to keep in trim. And once you get it there, you can pretty much just let go of the stick and go eat a sandwich or something. It'll stay where you put it. There's no real need for like autopilot or anything like that. Just trim it out, brah. Alright, there's that castle there. I don't know if this is considered like Inverness Castle or something like that, or Loch Ness Castle. I don't know the name of it. I really don't. I really should look this stuff up on Google Maps or whatnot before I start flying, just so I know what the hell I'm talking about when I do these kinds of videos. But suffice to say, here is a castle, or tower, or maybe it's a keep. Looks like a castle. I always look for that because that means we're about 1/3 of the way down Loch Ness. I'm gonna get really close to the water here. Hopefully I won't hit it, but we'll go back to the outside view and look at belly cam as we continue our hunt for Nessie. Okay, so you may have noticed the water going uphill. This is what I was talking about, especially on this shore on the left-hand side here. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Asobo's got to do something about that. They need to take a look at all water just to make sure that the actual plane of the water, especially where it meets hills, is completely flat. But yeah, that's just bad. That's really bad. And at Mars, an otherwise very beautiful area. Look at this coming up here. This is the epitome of it right here. What the heck? Is that supposed to be a waterfall? No, obviously not. It's just supposed to be the shoreline of Loch Ness. Except it's at an 80-degree angle practically. No excuse for this. There is no excuse for this. Come on, come on. That needs to be fixed. Alright, but we are getting close to the end of Loch Ness, so Nessie should be basically directly ahead. I'm going to go back to the belly cam and we'll see if we can find her. And look, there's another one of those uphill water. Alright, I think I see her. I think I see her. We're going to go buzz Nessie. There she is, 12 o'clock. Nessie! Beautiful, beautiful. Alright, let's do that again. We're going to do an Immelman. We're going to roll around. There's beautiful Nessie. Nice. Let's see, what other camera view can I show Nessie in? Not too many. We'll go in a cockpit. Alright, so boost is still at 2. Gonna hit the deck. Pass Nessie on the right hand side. There she is. She just chilling. Hi, Nessie. I love Nessie. That, by the way, is a free add-on from flightsim.to. If you're interested in it, I'll put the link in the video description below. This is Fort Augustus, I believe it's called. And that's also another thing that I got off of flightsim.to. I would land there, but the strip is very short and Spitfire likes a bit of runway. It's not going to end well. Let's just put it that way. So we're going to bypass Fort Augustus for right now. And we're going to continue heading this way down this lake. Or loch. I forget I'm in Scotland. I got to call them lochs. Alright. Since we don't have any kind of GPS in here, I think this thing does have the capability to add a GPS, but I don't want to use it, so I'm going to use the VFR map. And where did my VFR map go? Oh. Well, that was weird. It took forever to spawn in. Alright, we're just going to put it right here. Okay, so basically, yeah, we're following this lake, and we have some fog rolling in. Oh, we are in the Scottish Highlands after all. Not too surprised to see this. Now, I do notice there is a functional switch in here for windshield defogger. I forget which one of these switches it is. I'll have to see if I can find it. The switch itself is functional, but I don't know if it does anything. That's kind of cool, though. I like the fog and everything. It's pretty neat. I haven't touched on performance at all because honestly, performance has been a non-factor for me. It's been performing well in VR. I'm getting good FPS. Everything is really smooth, no jitters, no judders, none of that stuff. I can do like a snap aileron roll and everything is still smooth, except of course my flying. But yeah, that's why I really haven't said anything about the performance. There's nothing to say about performance. It does what the update said it was going to do. It's giving me better VR performance. I'm okay with this. I am okay with this. Alright, I'm gonna get a little bit more of a bird's eye view here. I know there should be a causeway somewhere close by, but I think it's off to that side. I don't think we can reach it from this lake. Excuse me, loch. But I'm not even gonna try and search for it. Oh, one thing that people have been complaining about has been like the pop-in of scenery objects like trees, houses, so on and so forth. I actually set mine to about 125 for object LOD resolution. That seems to be okay, because if I look like way down the lane there, I can see the trees off in the distance. Nothing is like immediately popping into existence. So I'm thinking that complaint is kind of null and void. I don't believe that is necessarily a Microsoft Asobo thing. I think that's a set your settings right thing. Because I don't have any issues with that. Granted, I'm in an area right now where that's all there is trees and the occasional chalet. Or castle, as the case may be. But yeah, I don't really have an issue with that. Alright, looks like we're closing in on the end of the loch, and I'm probably going to want to follow the magenta line at that point in time. Let me see if it's going to take me over any mountains first. Zoom out a little. Oh, there's supposed to be a fort right here. Let's see if we can find it. Alright, I want to pass it on the right-hand side of it. So we're going to keep going this way. Looks like there's a river I can follow. I'm going to go back to the outside view really quick, and we'll just kind of follow this river to wherever it goes. Okay, Fort William, that's what I'm looking for. It looks like it's along this riverbank to the left. Alright. I have no idea what Fort William looks like, and I am not in the habit of keeping those little POI things on. I'm going to lower our throttle a little so the boost will be at 0. Let's see if we can find this Fort William. I gotta assume it's one of these buildings over here. Or maybe it's on top of the hill. It says we just passed it. Let's turn around and see what we can find here. You'd figure with a name like Fort William, it would probably be pretty dramatic looking. Some kind of Braveheart kind of fortress or something. I don't see anything, except of course that mountain in my way. Let me zoom in this map really quick before we fall out of the sky. Okay, so it's actually more closer to the shoreline. Alright, let's swing around and we'll go to the underside camera view and see if we can find it. Okay, it is right there where those two rivers meet the larger one. Alright, we're gonna swing around this way. Okay, so that river spits us out here. The other river spits us out here. Which means this should be Fort William coming up right about here. Bueller? Is that it? I don't even know. Huh. Well, I'm gonna assume that was probably it, but it didn't look that impressive. It is possible that maybe I don't have it installed. I'm pretty certain that I did do the content manager update, so I should have everything in the UK kit, unless I need to have photogrammetry on in order to see it. And I refuse to turn photogrammetry on, by the way, because it makes everything, as Austin Meyer from X-Plane puts it, blobby. And I dislike blobby, so I keep photogrammetry off. Can't get over these clouds though, that's pretty cool. Alright, let me increase our throttle again. So put the boost back up to 2, that's going to give us 240 miles per hour. We are climbing a little, so I'm going to touch the pitch trim just a touch. We'll zoom this back out. See how far we need to go. Oh hell, we got a ways to go to get to our destination. But we can actually follow, I don't even know if that's a lock or just an inlet or a bay. Either way, we're going to follow it. I have a good friend of mine, a red-headed friend, mind you, that lives in Scotland. Her name is Claire. She and I talk every day. And she always sends me beautiful pictures of Scotland. I think she lives close to Glasgow, like one of the neighborhoods around Glasgow. But she was actually camping up this way not long ago, a few weeks back, or maybe like 1 week back, a couple weeks back. And she sent me some really beautiful pictures of this area. It was absolutely incredible. Now I see why she went camping here. It's really cool looking. Alright, I think what I'm going to do, instead of following the lake, because there's not much scenery on the lake, I'm actually going to follow the magenta line. Now, I don't recall if they put in an autopilot in this thing. Not that I really need it, per se, but would be nice to know if they did have one. In fact, I'm going to increase our throttle a little bit, so we'll put the boost up to about 4, and we'll hold it there. Remember, our RPM is still between 2,500 and 2,600. And now that we're going over these hills, we're going to have a little bit of wind. Basically, I'm just trying to manually follow the magenta line. Alright, we're starting to get where we should be, so I'm going to turn slightly to the right. Slightly. Alright. Yeah, that looks like the right direction. Oh, there's a hill there. Nice. Alright, so we need to head this way, and we're going to go to the outside view. I'll stop talking for a few, and we'll just fly. Okay, so according to this, we're getting kind of close to our destination, so I'm going to zoom it back in real quick. Oh, it's just over this hill. Okay. Now, landing this thing is going to be interesting, and I'm not going to lie to you folks, I am bad when it comes to landing this thing. So we may not survive this. I'm just going to tell you that from right now. I have all faith that I will be able to get her down in one piece, but we may not survive this. This is a very short strip. As a matter of fact, you can see it directly ahead. I'm looking right at it. So we're going to buzz it real quick just to kind of check it out. I'm also going to pull our power back so that way we can get ready to land. So this is North Connell. This is where we're coming in. Let's see what we've got for runways. First thing I noticed, we've got helipads, so Sergio's gonna love that. Alright, so we have runway 1. 2 helipads there. Looks like an American F-15 on loan. There's a Spitfire, I think. Runway 19 here. Okay, so we can either land north or south. That's what I'm getting. Alright, let's open this up. Whoops, we forgot to contact Scottish Center.
Scottish Center, Musket 70, 600 feet.
Musket 70, Scottish Center, altimeter 29.62, continue as
Ooh,
planned.
altimeter changed. Alright, nearest airport list, North Connell, EGEO traffic. I'm thinking we need to land to the north, so that would be this direction.
Echo Golf, Echo Oscar, traffic Musket 701 miles southeast, 500 feet inbound to land runway 01.
Obviously we can't land yet because we're still coming in a little too fast. So I'm going to set our trim up a little here. We'll run parallel to the runway. We'll do our typical run and brake. May actually have to go to the outside view for this one. I'm not real confident about landing this thing. But either way, here's our brake. Throttle is basically at idle. We're going to pull the prop hitch back up though, just in case I need that extra power. And we'll keep swinging around. Alright, I'm going to go to the outside view really quick and drop our gear. Let's use this camera. Beautiful, beautiful. While we're at it, we'll drop our flaps. Let me see where the runway is. Oh, we are awfully close to that runway. I'm going to swing out this way a little. Now that our airspeed has dropped considerably. We'll go back to the inside here. So we're at 100 miles per hour. Our boost is at 0, which is fine. I don't want to go too far into these hills here. Alright, there's our runway. Yeah, this is going to be bad. This is probably a bad approach. I'm feeling too sluggish. And I'm not properly lined up. And I'm definitely going to the outside view for this. We've got a lot of speed to bleed off, and we've got a bit of a crosswind here. Oh boy. Hold on to your butts. I'm pulling back gently on the stick to try and force the tail wheel to drop. And we're going to hit the brakes slightly. I feel like I'm about to run out of runway. You ever get that feeling like you're about to run out of runway? Whew! Alright. Never doubted myself for a second there. Yeah, don't ask me to do that from inside of the cockpit. That's not happening just yet until I get more comfortable with this bird. But welcome to North Connell! I'm even going to open up the thing here. Whew! Alright, so here we are. Thinking I want to park over here. I guess I can probably taxi there because it looks like that's a hold short, so I guess they expect you to taxi there. That works for me. Alright, so we're going to back taxi here, and I'll go back to the outside view. So not too shabby. Landing was really sketchy. But considering the fact that I've got very low time in this aircraft, it is one of the ones that I've meant to do a full review episode. I call it a review episode, but it's really not a review. It's just me showing off the plane, telling you what it does. I'm not assigning any points score or anything like that to it. I'm just basically showing off the plane. But be that as it may, we are where we intended to be. So that works for me. Alright, so the $1,000,000 question is going to be, what does Sim Update 5 Hotfix 1 bring for us? Today, the time that I'm recording this is Thursday, the 29th of July. So we're supposed to have the hotfix in tomorrow. Obviously, that has not yet happened. But it's going to be real interesting to see what happens once they actually introduce this hotfix. Will it actually fix a lot of stuff? Or will it continue to upset the user base? And I will say some of the concerns that the user base has, pretty valid. Some, not so much. Some it's like, well, you should have read the frickin' release notes. But there are some valid concerns that they have, though. Alright. But I'm not going to get into all of that. I just came here to fly and test this out and make sure everything was doing good, and it looks like it is. So we can go ahead and turn everything off now. Let's turn our radio off. Okay. Throttle all the way to idle. And I'm going to move our mixture and prop lever back to 0. So there we go. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Why did I just turn the parking brake off? Okay, that's a problem. FlyingIron in VR, when I'm trying to hit this fuel thing, it's hitting the parking brake. So I need to physically move myself to the right in order to make sure that the mouse cursor hits the fuel shutoff switch. So might want to work on that. All right, let's close this up. Fuel, or not fuel, oxygen. That's basically it. That is basically it. All right, so thank you for watching, as always. It's another chill video, and I will catch you soon. Ciao.